What's up, people? Nature Girl 30 here, and we have reached the end of our wrestling week, which means this is another NG Minute. And I'm going to be giving you guys the highlights and the lowlights of not only TNA, but of SmackDown. So let's get started with TNA first. Now, when Dixie Carter made her heel turn a little while ago, probably maybe a few weeks back, and also on the pay-per-view, can't remember what, but either or, when she made her heel turn, I liked it. It was a whole new edge to her character. I absolutely loved it. And the fact that she's more involved in TNA made me a lot happier. And I mean, I like this whole new Dixie. I like Dixie as a heel. I really did. But after she hugged the leg of Hulk Hogan last week, it just didn't sit well with me. I couldn't take her seriously anymore. She's the head of a company. Why on earth will you be hugging the leg of Hulk Hogan, begging him to stay, if you're supposed to be the all-powerful, the all-strong Dixie Carter, president of TNA, and you're like practically begging Hulk Hogan to stay? That was the only thing that kind of just bugged me a little bit. And it was really hard to take her segment seriously, let alone her as a character. But the one thing that was a huge plot hole for me is that she punished Sting for announcing his own match at Bound for Glory against Magnus. But she did nothing for Samoa Joe when Samoa Joe pretty much put himself in the X Division match for Bound for Glory. I'm like, okay, you don't punish Samoa Joe for putting himself in the Ultimate X match at Bound for Glory, but you're gonna punish Sting for making his match with Magnus at Bound for Glory. I don't know. That just made no sense to me. Like, not at all. But moving on from there. My favorite segment of the night has to be, hands down, the Ego Hall of Fame. I loved it because not only did it sound right, it fit Bobby Roode so well. And the fact that they practically used that whole moment to pay an homage to how great Bobby Roode was an icing on the cake for me. I loved it. I'm a huge fan of Bad Influence. I love them. Even when TNA sucks, they pretty much make it all great for me. Seriously, it makes TNA enjoyable for me just to watch Bad Influence. And Bobby Roode becoming a part of that group, I guess he's the muscle, is not so bad. But it's just the whole Ego Hall of Fame fits Bobby Roode so well. But here's another gripe that I have for that whole segment. He talked a lot of smack about Kurt Angle, and we all knew that he was going to somehow have a retort. I would have liked it if they did a recording and actually have him do his debut at Bound for Glory and not be on TNA Impact, because it would actually be a lot more anticipation for his return. But instead, they had him there, and he came out and pretty much decimated everybody. I'm like, you see Kurt Angle come out, but it's not going to be so epic when Bound for Glory comes around, and you have 10 more days left. You could have waited 10 more days before he actually came back out. But honestly, I loved it. I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy that segment. That's just one major gripe that I have about TNA. I mean, pretty much about that whole segment was the fact that I really feel that they should have held out for Kurt Angle and not have Kurt Angle come back out. Because the WWE, when they're bringing back a legend, they actually have the legend stay out until the pay-per-view, which I think that's what they should have done for Bound for Glory, but they're starving for ratings. They had to do something, I guess. But moving on from there, I really don't consider the whole aces and eights against AJ Styles to be the main event of the night. I really just wasn't all that excited about that match. I guess because I kind of predicted the outcome, maybe. And the fact is, I really don't care much for the aces and eights anymore. But I like AJ Styles. I like AJ Styles' dark, edgy character than his face character. And that's probably why I don't really care as much. Even though he is a Georgia boy, and I gotta give my props and my respect from a Georgia boy, since I'm a Georgia girl, I gotta give, respect to him. But regardless of that, I just didn't care much for his face character. I really liked his whole dark, edgy side, and I really kind of want his dark, edgy side to return because it actually fits. He's being screwed right and left by Dixie Carter. I'm not even trying to make a joke out of that. I mean, seriously. But honestly, I didn't really care much for that match. I didn't really care much for that segment at all. But I really did care much for. Well, I love Lady Tappa. Like, Lady Tappa is now one of my favorite heel knockouts ever. And now that Mickie James is gone, you gotta have somebody to replace her. And I think Lady Tappa was a good choice. I guess she's supposed to be maybe the sister. I'm not technically, but I'm saying that she's supposed to be like the Awesome Kong of this era right now. And I really miss Awesome Kong, but I'm glad that Lady Tappa's there because I really want a dominant female to take the belt off of ODB so you can actually find a face to take the belt from Lady Tappa. Like, Lady Tappa needs to be champion. And if she's champion, she's going to do something with that Knockouts title. And it's going to make the Knockouts title a lot more appreciative because she's that dominant of a woman. So honestly, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing what she can do. But other than that, my overall thoughts of the show was, it was okay. It was good. The matches were pretty good. They actually do finally have a Bound for Glory card set up, which makes me happy because it's 10 days away. They're actually trying to build up for Bound for Glory, and I think they're doing a good job with that. And honestly, TNA was quite an enjoyable show. I liked it, even though I had a few little gripes and a few plot hole points I kind of pointed out. It's still an overall good show, and I suggest you guys watch it. So let's move on to SmackDown, shall we? Okay, the one thing I can say about SmackDown that SmackDown has always done right is setting up their pay-per-views. They're finally doing something with Hell in a Cell. It makes me happy that they are. They're actually doing something with the world title. They're trying to promote it more, and my guess is that even though I am hugely objective, wait, I guess I used that word wrong. But regardless, I object to the fact that John Cena is getting a title shot without doing anything, but I understand why they're doing it. The thing is that the world title is a very prestigious title that's been handed from person to person and has a lot of respect behind it. So it makes sense for John Cena to actually fight for that belt because they believe in their own mind that if John Cena goes against Alberto Del Rio, that he brings more prestige to the belt, he brings more notoriety to the belt, and he makes the belt worth something. So I kind of understand why they did it. I object why they did it because of the fact it doesn't fit into a storyline. You want to have a decent build for a character so people can actually relate to the character and it can build up to where that belt has even more prestige, even more worth to it. But unfortunately, they threw him in there, so we have to deal with it, shall we? Wait, that doesn't make any sense. But either or, we just have to deal with it. So that's pretty much it. But the whole thing with Alberto Del Rio and Vicky Guerrero, I really do want it to end. I'm really sick and tired of Vicky Guerrero being hit on. It's just enough, okay? We know that you're a cougar. We get it, okay? She is a very attractive woman. I'm not going to deny that. For somebody who is her age, she looks good. She looks really, really good. So sure, we know you're a cougar. Great. But can you stop flaunting it on the air? And as for the Big Show, like I said on my Raw review, it was very satisfying to actually see him knock the crap out of Triple H. But can we leave the whole personal line out of it? The fact that his house is being sold. Can we just 86 that, please. But moving on from there, the matches pretty much, in my opinion, on SmackDown were forgettable. It wasn't something that I really did find any interest in at all, except for the match of the night. The main event match, something that I feel they did right, was the Rhodes versus the Wyatt family. Oh my gosh. Rowan and Harper from the Wyatt family versus the Rhodes family. Now, we all knew that these guys are still riding the hype from their whole Battleground win. So I am happy that they made the right decision to have the Rhodes win. As much as I love the Wyatt family, I love the psychotic edge of these characters. I really do love how creepy they are because it absolutely, it just makes it more interesting. You don't see a lot of psychotic heels anymore, not since the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era. And now that we're actually seeing psychotic heels in the PG era, makes me happy. It really does. But honestly, I really did enjoy the fact that it was nice to see Goldust going back to Goldust in his heyday. He wasn't the joke that he started to become as years went on. He actually became the Goldust of old, and I loved it. I enjoyed every bit of it. And honestly, Goldust music never gets old for me. It's almost up there with The Rock's. And I really honestly enjoyed the brothers actually being a tag team and fighting. And later on down the line, sure, Cody Rhodes is going to go off and do his own thing, but I'm glad they're actually fighting together, and it was a great, great ending to the show. But overall, thoughts of SmackDown is SmackDown was somewhat forgettable. They kind of relied a lot on what happened on Raw and not really tried to create their storyline for their own brand. So it was just bland and mediocre at best, except for the ending. The final match of the night was the only match that really did make me jump out of my seat with joy. But before that, even in the beginning, was just kind of mediocre and bland and just subpar at best. So honestly, my overall thoughts of SmackDown is that it was a very mediocre show. Even though the ending was epic, it didn't go great from start to finish. And I'm not expecting it to. But the fact is that the opener was bland, but the ending was spectacular for me. So I will say it was an average show. But guys, what are your overall thoughts of TNA and SmackDown? Leave your comments in the comment section below or send me a video response on what you think SmackDown was, your opinions on SmackDown, as well as your opinions on TNA. This is Nature Girl 30 signing off. Peace out. Later.